Raven fans, Oriole fans. So this is Charles, the owner of Ravery Sports. Thank you for joining us for the Ravery Sports podcast, the Baltimore Sports podcast. Thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for however you're watching us today. We're doing this today. If you're watching this for the first time during our premiere, we're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So we're doing this. I'm trying to upload every Thursday at 1 o'clock usually. So around that time, that's the first time if you're watching this. Or on the Twitch channel, just keep your eyes open. We'll be replaying it all week long on Twitch as we go forward. The Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook is available whenever you're ready if you aren't watching this for the first time on our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter page. Definitely like that. Also, too, we have our LinkedIn page where we have there some clips of videos on there, also clips on Instagram and TikTok. So you can watch our videos about 3 minutes at a time. We'll talk on a topic every week at least on those pages as well. Okay, Genesis Notary Services /Facebook. So definitely ordained wedding official. So if you want us to go out there and take care of that, we will do that if you live in the Shenandoah Valley area. Also, to any notary services that you need, we will actually go out and do that. A mobile notary service. Any of our merchandise, ravorisports@gmail.com. Website soon in April. We'll be ready to rock and roll with that. Couple of last things to get in order with that before we had to, because I had to relaunch it. So ready to rock and roll this month in April. Let you know, the ravorisports.com is what it's going to be called. And if you want to go on our Facebook page, you can go ahead and get merchandise right now. Ravery Sports _ Facebook. Yes, sir. Let's get to the draft. A lot to get to today. Lots of sports happening, as we are going to get to in the midst of all the Lamar Jackson talk that we've done. And it's kind of all been all-consuming. We're going to have a draft here pretty soon. Big change that we've made here to the mock draft. So we're going to go ahead and take a look. We're going to do a whole league mock draft during the show. You see Tagline NFL mock draft. And we're also going to do our third Ravens mock draft. So during this. So definitely thank you again for joining us today for this. Well. What's here? Quarterback. Hayden Hooker. Quarterback. Tennessee. Yep. I got the Ravens looking like taking a quarterback in the first round. They're going to have to. The rumor is, I heard a rumor earlier that Cam Newton they might be bringing in. At this point, you got to cover yourself because you have no idea what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. I think if they keep the pick, and I have a hard time seeing trading up high enough to do that. I think Hayden Hooker is the guy. Here's the good news about Hayden Hooker. Looking at him, I think he's kind of slept on. I don't arm strength. I don't know. I think that's the one thing. Thing I do like his progression. He's gotten better every year. You look at his stats. You look at his throwing room. You're looking at all these things. He's improved every year he's been in Tennessee, and the team improved every year he's been in Tennessee. Throwing strength is probably the one thing weakness. I don't know if he's an elite thrower of the football. But in the NFL, I don't know if you need to be rainbow and all that other stuff, huge. Everything is short, might work. And I think the Ravens actually, they have to look at a quarterback now. I mean, I think with the Lamar thing, when no idea was going to play out, neither side really wants to see him a bunch. Yeah, I got Hayden Hooker in the first round going to the Ravens. Rashee Rice, I've had him in a couple of these. He's actually moved up around. Rashee Rice, tall, lean receiver. Ravens do like that. I think the word is they're in on Odell Beckham. They made an offer to him. I think they draft a receiver regardless. They're going to have to draft a receiver. Rashee Rice, third round from SMU. I think he's moving up the boards a bit, so I don't know if he's going to still be there at 4 I think they definitely take a look at 3. I think if they're going to take a quarterback, they absolutely have to take a receiver, even more receivers maybe, because you didn't have one early. You don't have first round pick because you don't have a second round pick. Rather, you traded that away to get Roquan Smith. Mekhi Blackman, cornerback, USC, slot corner written all over this guy. When I saw the film with him and watched the videos with him, a lot like Marcus Peters. Peters is still out there. Maybe they bring him back, possibly, but if you don't bring him back, especially, this is a guy definitely can fill that type role. A lot of cornerbacks, what they tell them not to do is don't look into the quarterback's backfield. Don't look at focus on your guy, etc. Marcus Peters doesn't listen to that. He gets a lot of picks. This guy doesn't listen to that. He's going to get a lot of picks. Lots of great, just a lot of strategy I see with him. He's not higher because he's kind of smallish. I think he's not. I think had he been more prototypical size, he kind of plays off ball. He doesn't fit everywhere. I think the Ravens absolutely would take him as a nickel corner. It'll definitely work. Darius Davis, I said they're taking 2 corners. Definitely a guy you can use in the special teams, in the punt return, kick return. Even though they still have Devin Duvernay, you take a guy like this late. I think he will definitely help you out in the slot. I mean, they definitely need help. They definitely have to take wide receivers even more. Even if you do sign Odell Beckham or whatever else you're doing, you definitely have to take a couple of receivers in this draft. Absolutely, I think Darius Davis, would be a good addition. Fast, very fast. The more, I want to say Jermaine Lewis type, but he's a little bigger than that. But that type of slot player that you would take. And again, Andrew Stuber, I have him Michigan, 6th round, offensive guard, tackle-ish. I think at the NFL level, he's got some experience at tackle, but I think he's a guard. I think there's room there. Tristan Colon is gone. Ben Powers is gone. They may start Ben Cleveland at the start of the year. Or, I think that guard spot will be open. So he'll have a chance to win the starting job. And again, Michigan, the connection with the Harbaugh is very familiar. I'm sure John Harbaugh himself is familiar with him, familiar with the type of player he is. A lot of these Michigan guys tend to work out. So you see it there. Haight Hooker, Rashee Rice, Kai Blackman, Darius Davis, Andrew Stuber, 6th round pick from Michigan. And that is your Ravens mock draft. Yes, they're taking a quarterback. Had to. Lamar, they have no clue now if he's going to show up. He's asked for a trade. And they don't really seem to me to have any interest in meeting his demand. They don't really seem to do that. I think they're thinking Lamar would cave, and neither really side seems to be willing to move off that at all. I have heard they are talking still. They have had some conversations still. Now, I don't know if they have the same offer or the less. I don't know what it is, but it still hasn't been worked out. I haven't heard anything where it's been worked out or anything. But there's still conversations going on with Lamar, but I think they're taking the quarterback. If this isn't done by draft day, and I don't think it will be, got to. Other thing, too, they don't really seem to want to pay a quarterback. I've been thinking about this a lot, and this is not mentioned. And I'm not sure I don't think I've mentioned it either. The Joe Flacco, I've seen a lot of comp there. Joe Flacco had similar problems getting a deal done. That's why I skipped. When he won the Super Bowl, there was no contract. They had a long, protracted negotiation, and he had an agent. He turned down the Ravens' offer. I heard him say that on camera at the Super Bowl. And, I mean, it'd have been very interesting to see how that would have went had he not won the Super Bowl. That would have been very interesting to see, because I think at that point, a couple things happened there with Flacco. They won the Super Bowl one. He was great in the playoffs. And Ray Lewis retired. Ed Reed retired. Ed Reed left the organization. Simultaneously at the same time. So what happened was, in a lot of those cases, those guys at that point, okay, now we really need Joe Flacco. So I think they kind of capitulated, and in that situation, and in that situation as well, the fans were all behind it. Like, had they not done that, signed Flacco, it would have been a bit uprising after you win the Super Bowl to not sign Joe Flacco. Where in this case, fans are split. Mostly from what I've heard and seen, we want to sign the Raiders fans want to sign him on. But there is a camp of people, of fans that are just done with this guy. Or not, or more in the Ravens thing. Whereas where in that situation, there was nobody. You don't sign Joe Flacco after you won the Super Bowl with pay him. It would have been that. So I think that also factors in. So Ravens take quarterback first round in our mock draft. We will do the whole league here. Let's go to this. So we had college basketball as well, the NCAA National Championship. San Diego State Aztecs. That is right. In the championship game against the UConn Huskies. This was actually, in my opinion, closer than what people said. I thought that you look at the final score, it's 59-76. I think they horse raced them out because they have a better team at the end, but it was fairly close in the fourth quarter. In the second half, like midway through the second half, and then that lull, they went on, and then the Huskies just kind of horse raced them out. I think the better team won. I think Huskies kind of was slept on during the course of the regular season. I think this is a really good team. They may have two guys, I think, go to the NBA. So that's very, very good. And the Huskies will actually go ahead and winning national champions. Can you call them a blue blood now? Possibly. They're now in the conversation there as well. So that's possibly right. And hey, I haven't heard this, but they moved back to the Big East. They were in the American. The Big East years ago split in terms of basketball and football. Big East for years in the 80s was just strictly a basketball conference, basketball only. As the landscape shifted with the TV money and everything like that, Big East actually said, hey, we need to get into football. And they became a football conference. So they had Miami, BC, a couple teams like that. And the teams that actually were Division I basketball teams were actually played football in the Big East. So what happened was, years ago, they decided that they no longer, that these basketball-only schools that were in the conference wanted to separate and make their own conference. And they wanted to call it the Big East again, take the old Big East name. The American Athletic, which is now, they don't like hearing that, but the last remnants of the old Big East football, it's changed a lot since then. But those conferences that actually became a new conference, the American. Connecticut was in that. They were not in the Big East Reformation when that happened at the time. What they did is they left the American and went back to the Big East, put the emphasis on the basketball, and they kind of left the Division I football kind of out in cold there because they've struggled. And it turned out now to be the right decision because going back to the Big East and getting that in there actually helped them recruit and all of that stuff as they had hoped. So it turns out, it looks like that was a good decision for the Big East men to go back into for the men to go back into the Big East and get that squared away. Let's look at the shot of the tournament there by Lamont Butler of San Diego State.
Pulled down by Minson. They have the one timeout. Are they going to take it or not? They don't have the scorers on the floor. It's Butler with 2 seconds. He's got to put it up. He wins it with the jumper. A San Diego State miracle.
So there you go, Lamont Butler. There you go. Going in, that wasn't the game, the championship game. That was the game with the Final Four game when you're playing for Atlanta. He hit the jumper at the end. I thought defensively, he was great. I thought in this game he was the best player on the floor. Gets a lot of those points off his good defense, and he's a good defensive player. I thought he was their best player. They just didn't have enough offense to match up with the Huskies. This guy's going to the NBA, I'm sure of it. 17 points, 10 rebounds, dominant on the glass. I think that's what kind of did the pull away. Jordan Hawkins was outstanding. He's about a top 30 prospect in the NBA. 16 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds in that game from a guard. Good game for him. I thought they probably Butler was on him a lot during that game. Did that Tristan Newton for UConn, the senior, 19 points, 10 rebounds. I think is probably his last game as a Husky. Played well. I thought UConn, the better team, won. They were just on a roll, and they won all season, won all tournament, dominant victories. That's how dominant victories for them. So good job by the Huskies as well in the championship game. Honestly, I wasn't as excited as I've been for college basketball. I think that's a problem that we're having with college basketball. The stories aren't there, the names aren't there, things like that. So we'll see how that goes forward. Some great games, though. If you actually watch a lot of these games, some of these games were fantastic. That's the thing. The women's game, I would say, Caitlin Clark and all that stuff that went on. It got great ratings, and people are interested in women's basketball more than I think than anything else. I would say this to both college basketball with the trash talking incident that was there. Apparently, one other thing, I heard this the other day that both teams are going to get to go to the White House. So I did not know that. That the women's champion actually got to go to the White House. So they won the head national championship. A little bit of trash talking going on the women's side there. That's kind of what we don't see in basketball nowadays. When I grew up, what I see a lot of with these players, it's just different. They just act different. The biggest difference is, I think, the AAU element of these players. Most of these guys playing at AAU, play together, and has played at a young age. The term we used back in the day, I don't know what they would say nowadays, is playing to the blacktop and playing to the whistle. And all these guys at a young age play into the whistle at a young age, where they're not blacktop players. That's why that trash talking that those two ladies were doing and things like that was a bigger deal. That's coming up the way I did. And I even see it in the NBA and a lot of levels of basketball. Like, they don't trash talk the way they used to because they're used to playing with more discipline in that sense. Where if you play outside, like we did, playing the blacktop, play recreate, I mean, there's no such thing. There's always trash talking. And things. So it was really, for me, good to see it. Absolutely no problem with that or talk. That's part of the game. As long as we're not going too far with things. As long as we're talking about the game and you stink, that's all fine. In terms of playing. So good job. Congratulations also to the LSU Lady Tigers winning the national championship as well. And congratulations to the Huskies. So we'll talk basketball again when the season starts. We'll be covering more Maryland basketball again next season. All right. Let's switch over to the NFL here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and switch over to the NFL here. Couple things we're going to go over with the NFL, larger NFL content. Not quite the Big Five. Big Five, as I used to say all season. We'll have that when the season starts. Big Five, but we're going to do some discussion questions here. We did baseball a little bit last week. Now we're going to do some more football here. Are the Jets AFC favorites with Aaron Rodgers? AFC East favorites with Aaron Rodgers. I'm standing here right now thinking that they're the best team in the AFC East. if it looks like the deal will get done now, we don't know when that's going to be. It's still, as of this recording, still not done yet. Both sides seem committed. I think the compensation is just sitting on the scene. I think they're just waiting. They may wait. Probably what the Jets maybe want to do is try to keep the first round pick and then give it up next year. That could be what they're doing. But I'm presuming that the Aaron Rodgers is going to be the Jets. With that the case, yes, they're the best team in the AFC East. Miami has some real problems. I think Miami has got some things. I'm not sure Tua's going to play all year. I mean, even at Alabama, he was banged up an awful lot. Concussion, maybe I think he's out of concussion. I'm not sure that is. New England, I think getting there. I'm not sure about Jones if he's the guy for them. They're going past two guys that have been with them a long time. Devin McCourty's gone, retired, and Dante Hightower retired. That's a bigger thing than you think. This team relies on defense a lot, so we'll see. I like the Jets in that division as the best team. Are games being flexed from Sunday to Monday and Thursday good for the league? No. They don't care anything, but that's not good. No players want to play on Thursday. That's facts. That there's no players that want to play a Thursday night football game. They don't mind doing it the opening week. They don't mind doing it on Thanksgiving. The players don't want to play on Thursday. This is all about the TV dollars, and that's really the only big thing Roger Goodell cares about. Where Amazon got some dog games and it hurt the ratings. They're trying to get viewership. They're trying to get people to watch. They're spending a lot of money on this. And they got a lot of lousy games. And so they're trying to get better games. And so when they went back to them and said, well, we're going to do everything we can to get better games, they don't care anything about the play. It's not good for the players to play on Thursday when you hardly practice or hardly. They don't want to do that. For the fans, I don't know if it's better either. I mean, it's things like that. Play more games during the week, possibly. I've heard the rumor they want to maybe play 2 games on Thursday to alleviate that, or flex a game to Thursday. No good. I'm not for it. I think some fans may like it. I mean, it'd be off on Thursday or like Thursday. I don't know. But I'm getting the general sense that it's not a good thing. But they're not going to care about that. They're going to just do what they should. And they should care about the money. Yeah. But this is a money thing. This is not about anything else. Will Juju Smith-Schuster help the Patriots receiving corps? I think it'll help. I think they're behind. They're behind the Jets right now. They may be behind the Dolphins too, depending on how it goes with Tua. Having a good receiver like that will help them. There's definitely a weakness for them. They definitely didn't have a receiver. They did lose to Kobe Myers. I thought Myers was a bit overstated. This is definitely, to me, an upgrade. Bringing in Juju Smith-Schuster as a comparison to him, especially the way he plays. I think that'll definitely work better with Mac Jones. Kind of like goes down the seam a lot, takes those tough hits. Things like that. Jones is not the guy, with rainbows and everything like that. So I think it'll definitely work with that. Also, will help the Patriots receiving coach, frankly, is having a real offensive coordinator this year. You have Bill O'Brien there. That's definitely going to help them to go ahead and win. They definitely need to get better on offense. The league is changing in that sense, and it kind of seems stagnant on offense. They're doing things. I disagree with a lot of people saying they're doing things differently than the way they did. But the thing is, you don't have Tom Brady anymore. You have Brady, and we have a Manning, and we have a Mahomes, and we have things like that. You can kind of get away with certain stuff and match that stuff that they were doing. They've always kind of did goofy stuff with their offense. Changing linemen in the middle of the game, having a right tackle play center, things like that. All that, they've always kind of done weird stuff. Troy Brown, it always. But here's the thing: you don't have Brady anymore to mask a lot of that. And that's what happened. So you can get away with that when you have 30 points a game. So Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, will help them. I think he was the best receiver available on the market. How much of an upgrade is Jimmy G over Derek Carr for the Raiders? I don't think it's very well. I think the problem with Garoppolo is injuries. That's why the Niners didn't want him anymore. I mean, he clearly won games for them. He's not an elite quarterback by any stretch. He's a good quarterback. He's solid. He's definitely NFL starter level. Definitely a guy who can win games for you. Definitely, hey, look, got him to the Super Bowl. Got him in the NFC Championship game last year. Not the last season, but the season previous. Right? So I got really not a big deal with Jimmy G. I don't think it's upgrade over Carr. I think it's about the same. I like it. It's about the same also, too. The one thing I do also like about it is that he is playing for a coach, offense. He could come right in and understand everything. I think that works often. Matt Hasselbeck, I think, is the one that absolutely, resonates for me in my mind. Backup for years in Green Bay, hadn't really started. Goes with Mike Holmgren. Mike Holmgren in Seattle, and he has a lot. That usually helps out a lot if a guy understands. He fits right in day one, so he'll fit right in and understand exactly what Josh McDaniels is trying to do day one. So, but it's about push. I don't think you got better necessarily. You maybe saved a few bucks, I think, or you definitely saved some money. But I don't know how much you actually did doing that. The Ravens want to sign Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback. No, they didn't want to sign him as their starting quarterback. I think, though, they are looking at quarterback options. I think that's apparent. Cam Newton, I've heard. That was something. I think Cam is that's not a good idea. Baker Mayfield, I think, is a better idea. So I believe him when he says Baker Mayfield that they wanted to sign him, or they thought about signing him, and he turned him down. Probably the reason he turned him down. I think people talk about, well, I can't believe he turned down. He knows what's going on with Lamar. I think Lamar, they definitely had told him Lamar had been gone. Then, yeah, absolutely. Yes, he signed with the Ravens. He didn't because I think that was more the reason he didn't sign with the Ravens than that. In Tampa, he'll probably be their starter or at least have a better chance to compete as a starter in Tampa. That's the main reason for it, in my opinion, where he goes ahead and he signs him. So that makes more sense to me. That he didn't sign with the Ravens and he signed with Tampa. So I think a lot of Ravens fans are all upset about that. They're like, well, I can't believe that he wants to play. So that, to me, it makes all the sense in the world that he wants to go ahead and play. So that makes sense. And where will Odell Beckham sign? So that rumor is out that Odell wants to. The Ravens have made him an offer to go ahead and sign. We don't know what the offer is. I keep hearing over and over he's asking for $15-16 plus million. That's a bit off the reservation. I mean, he hasn't played. He didn't play at all last year. He was cut midway through last year. He's been a good player. I can't imagine he's asking for that much money. That's like top of the receiver chain in the NFL. So I don't know about that. He could be negotiating and asking for that, not really thinking. I can't imagine he's thinking that he's going to get that. I believe the Ravens made an offer. I mean, you got to do something. I think Odell, for better or worse, he's the number one receiver out there right now. Makes sense. I think he's the one guy Now it's a roll of the dice because you don't know what you're going to get. A lot of issues with him. I don't see him and Harbaugh getting along necessarily, but I think talent-wise, nobody's better out there than Odell Beckham right now. He's the one guy that you would want to go ahead and help. You have a shot with him being a number one receiver. If he can come in and do all the things that you want to do, no question about it. He absolutely can do that. DeAndre Hopkins, Jerry Jeudy, those guys are still out there. We'll see. Denver has sitting under. I think Denver's going to sit under receiver unless you're going to come up with a first round pick. Ravens aren't going to do that. So I think signing Odell is as good as anything else. Aaron Rodgers is for it. he definitely wants to sign Odell. So that's about as good as anything that you're going to do. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think he signs with the Ravens. I'd be surprised. I think he signs with the Rams or the Jets. Would you rather play with Aaron Rodgers? Would you rather play with at least you will know who the quarterback is. The Ravens situation, if I'm Odell quarterback, is not appealing to me. I wouldn't want to do that. Unless the money is so much more than anybody else. And I doubt that's the case. That they're going to spend so much more than a different team. All right. So let's go to baseball. Here. Get the graphic right here. So we had the Orioles start the season now. We are now no longer in baseball all season. We are in baseball in the season. As we're recording, and let me check it out right now, Grayson Rodriguez made his first start today. And he was actually decent enough. He had five innings pitched. I think it was 2 earned runs, things like that. Not worried about it. Screen numbers weren't great. Unfortunately, it looks like Kyle Bradish got hurt in the game there yesterday. As we're recording this on Wednesday. So Kyle Bradish got hurt, so they went ahead and called it Grayson Rodriguez's start up a day. And they went ahead and made those moves because Bradish is going to look like he's not. That was a nasty hit on his foot. But yeah, I wonder he was able to walk after that, so there was no chance that he was going to pitch. Opening day 10-9, Orioles go ahead and were victorious in that game. Lots of offense in that. So right now, so far, early in the season, seeing a lot of offense from about everything we expected. Ramon Urias, I definitely want to talk about. Very good early so far. This situation kind of reminds me of Chuck Clark there. Everybody's ready to anoint Gunnar Henderson as the third baseman, etc. Hey, Ramon Urias, he's still here. Home run. He's actually played a little second this year. I don't remember seeing him at second. But Ramon Urias is still hitting the ball well. He started in a lot of. He started pretty much every game. What they're doing is kind of what I thought they would do. Is they're kind of moving. Gunnar is playing in every game, but they're kind of moving him around still. They haven't really settled him in one spot. They're kind of moving those three around. Mateo is going to play mostly every game. They're kind of moving them around. In the first series with Boston, in the first game, bullpen was awful. Pitching wasn't good at all. Gibson was good in the first game. The starting bullpen has really struggled. Batista struggled even though he got the save in the first game. Over the weekend, Felix Batista, I think he blew his saves, a little shaky. In the Rangers series, he's been better. Felix Batista hasn't really pitched much in the preseason, in the spring training. So he's still kind of coming around. Not so worried about it yet in the Rangers series. Did a little better. Boston a little bit here too. They're offensively, I thought they did well against the Orioles pitching challenge in the first start. We know how good Devers is. We're looking to see how the rest of Atlanta does. Justin Turner, I think he's in a prime position. I think he's in third or fourth for them. So Red Sox, to me, they're definitely behind the Orioles. they're definitely behind the Orioles. I don't think they're. I don't know what's going on with Boston. I think like they're really, really struggling. Corey Kluber, I thought, was decent after the first start. Sale struggled. You don't know what you're going to get from Chris Sale. He has to go ahead and get back to being the elite pitcher that he's been, but he's been injured so much. Now he's 34 years old. We'll see how that goes. But good news for the Orioles. Kyle Gibson has been fantastic. He was fantastic in this game, in the first game where they won 10-9. He was fantastic, I think, in the second start. He's been fantastic all spring. So that's great. So that's one thing they got going for them all year. I think Cole Irvin was decent enough too, and Star struggled a bit. We'll see how this goes. So Orioles off to a decent enough start here. So far, Orioles record is 3-3. Long way to go. One game, we can't even really evaluate it too much. 10 games in baseball is equivalent to 1 in football. It's really hard in baseball to go one game and pick it apart too much. That's why I put stats and everything. Just kind of get a general overview of it. Really hard to pick it apart too much, but encouraged so far by the Orioles here at the very beginning of the season. Good to see that they brought Grayson up. Good to see. Definitely. I don't think there's anything to be gained by having him in AAA at this point. I don't see why they're being in AAA. And apparently Bradish is too good to be in AAA. Even though he struggled quite a bit. So good job for the Orioles getting that taken care of. As promised. So let's do an NFL mock draft. This is our third one we're doing. And also, we will go ahead and do another mock draft right before the draft. So we'll do 4. That'll be the final one as we get to draft day. The Ravens have a huge draft this year. Really vital that they do well this year. I mean, they usually do, but man, very fascinating to see. They're in a situation where they haven't been in quite a while. A lot of problems, a lot of flux. A good draft really is important for them, as it is a lot of the teams. Let's take a look here. So at the top, as far as the draft here, not a lot of changes. Just want to make sure I'm doing good. All right, so at the draft here, not a lot of changes here. Carolina, again, I keep seeing Anthony Richardson in several spots. I'm not buying that. They could have. I think it'll be Bryce Young at the top spot. I think they didn't trade all that stuff to do anything to trade to get Anthony Richardson. I think smoke screen them saying that they're going to not take that they're not going to do that. I think it's definitely Bryce Young they're going to take an extra. Will Anderson, rumors that they're trading back, but as of right now, I think it's Will Anderson. I think is fantastic. He's the best defensive player on the board, maybe the best player period in the draft. The only negative with Will Anderson is he's a little smallish. That would be the only thing I would say with him at all. Otherwise, he's fantastic. No problem at all with that pick. Anthony Richardson, I got him now with the Colts. It's clear now he's the third choice in the draft. Third quarterback taken. Colts definitely need to take a quarterback. Anthony Richardson, I honestly don't think he's ready to play. I think this guy is way overstated as a passer. Athletically, he's phenomenal. Lamar Jackson likes speed and size, excellent throwing on him. So those two things will get you drafted high. I think that 40% passing doesn't work for me, but I think more and more teams, I'm hearing him as their third quarterback. I'm struggling with that. But I think definitely whoever needs a quarterback will look at him and do it. I think he absolutely needs to stick. Tyree Wilson, I think the Seahawks take him. I think he's absolutely great. Had it not been for Will Anderson, outstanding pass rusher. Seahawks, great place to play for any pass rusher. A little bit bigger than C.J. Anderson, so I think he fits better in a lot of schemes. Jalen Carter, definitely. This might be again, talk about Will Anderson. If Will Anderson isn't the best player in the draft, non-quarterback, Jalen Carter absolutely is. We know about the off-the-field issues. I think that's dropped him some. This guy's a game record every time I see him. You better put two guys on Jalen Carter if you're going to do something with him and stop him. And it's no chance of it that he doesn't get taken very high, unless the off-field issues really get worse or something like that. Christian Gonzalez, I think he's the number one corner in a good group of corners here. I think the Raiders take him. They definitely need help on defense. They've kind of done a lot on offense. Through free agency. They re-signed Josh Jacobs. They went ahead and signed Jimmy Garoppolo. They went ahead and signed Jacoby Myers. I think they focused on defense in the draft early. Will Levis signs with Atlanta. So I think they got to do it. I can't believe they're actually going to start Desmond Ridder. He didn't look good at all. I thought in the Ravens game in the last year, fans apparently want to see him. I don't know why. I think you got to bring somebody in. More and more I'm seeing Richardson in 2, so I think that leaves Levis 3rd. I think Levis is a bit of a risk. The measurables are all there. I thought he played good enough. He kind of not played bad, but kind of shrinked a little bit against a big competition. That's kind of the fear with him. I don't know if he's an elite NFL quarterback when I see him, but I think they definitely need to take it. I think it's definitely worth, him going ahead and competing with Desmond Ridder. If you can't, you're not going to sign a quarterback. Myles Murphy, I think he's right there. 3 really good pass rushers. I think he signs with the Bears. Bears have done a lot on defense, and they've done a lot, period. They had a lot of cap space to get Myles Murphy. Go ahead and sign with them. I think that's an excellent move. Great pass rush talent, young talent. 3 really good pass rushers here at the top. Nolan Smith, again, a bit of a roll of the dice. This is more the athlete here. As well, kind of moved up draft boards with the good combine. Got to watch that sometimes. Somebody has a really good combine. But I think the Eagles are in a position they can take a risk like that. The 4.3 speed for somebody this big is a big deal. And I think they're kind of I think the Eagles might be able to take that roll of a dice on a guy like that. Had a couple drafts. This spot has looked the same. I think I'm kind of sticking with this. Peter Stronsky, I think, is the number 1 tackle in the draft. I think the Titans feel that way as well. Mike Vrabel will actually do that. Rumors that they might trade up for one of the quarterbacks. I could absolutely see that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think they definitely, at some point, are going to move on from Tannehill. I don't know how they feel about Malik Willis. They seem to not want to go in that direction. But I think if they stay here, I believe that'll be what they're actually going to do. Jackson Smith, Nigba, easy to me, best receiver in this draft. I think the Texans will take the receiver in this to go with the C.J. Stroud, the new quarterback. Definitely they're picking high. I think definitely they're going to build that offense in the draft. Paris Johnson, I think, is almost as good as Stronsky. Pretty much right there. More traditional size. I think skill level with Stronsky is great, but more of the traditional offensive tackle. I think the Jets take him if they keep the pick. which Green Bay is trying to get in the first round. I think the Jets take a lineman first. Broderick Jones, I absolutely believe that's the case for New England. He's got New England written all over him. I think this is an outstanding franchise as far as drafting tackles, etc. They had the great Dante Scarnecchia for years, and they have Bill O'Brien here now. They give these guys some directions. I think they're very good at this, taking an offensive line. Usually these guys work out. We take one in the first round. Usually it doesn't bust often. That's a safe way to go, I think, a lot of times. As safe as you can get in the draft. Michael Mayer, I definitely think Green Bay does that. Jordan Love is going to be the starter for them. That's a good thing to do. Take the best try end. Receivers not as strong in this draft. And I think they maybe feel like they have some receivers. Christian Watson probably be the number one guy for them. Why not get a tight end to help? The Commanders, Devin Witherspoon. There are three very good corners. He's right there with them. I definitely think that's what they're going to do. That Ron Rivera emphasizes that defense. I think they should be looking at a quarterback. I think they're kind of out of the running for that as far as getting a QB. But they're picking too low there, so I don't think they're going to go ahead and take quarterback. Anton Harrison is going to be their offensive tackle for the Squealers. Definitely the Squealers definitely need a tackle there. They've lost some guys on defense, so they might go defense, but their line has really struggled. I think you have a young quarterback. I think they're going to help build it up. Harrison, I think, is the best one available at the time. That's about right. It's late first round for him. I think they're going to do that. Brian Branch for the Detroit Lions, safety. I think he plays safety for them with that great Lions defense. Aiden Hutchinson was so good for them last year. They went ahead and signed some corners and get a second round pick. Hey, why not take a good safety where you need some help? Branch, I think, is a versatility, can play in the first or can play safety and or corner and or nickel corner. So no problem with that. Joey Porter, name is familiar. His father was an outstanding outside linebacker for the Squealers many years. The Bucks go ahead and sign Joey Porter. He's an elite corner. I love Joey Porter as a corner. He absolutely is going to go ahead and help them. Bucks need help all over the place. I have them take a good corner. I think they're getting, one of the last elite players in a premium position left in Porter. They're all over the place. I mean, they could take a receiver. They could take. They're starting to make. I mean, anything could happen with the Bucks. They need a lot of help. Set the edge. Lucas Van Ness for the Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll would love this guy. Physical, absolutely everything you want in a offensive line. Not a great pass rusher, I don't think, by a long shot. Not right away, at least. But he's definitely a guy that would set the edge for you right away, hit those runners. Perfect for Seattle. Miami Dolphins forfeited the pick. Bjorn Robinson, the Chargers. I definitely think this guy's a top 5 talent. Nobody will take him, I think, that high because of the running back position. Chargers are absolutely looking for a running back. I think Eckler may be on his way out. They're refusing to extension. I think he's requested a trade. I think so. Definitely, he is going ahead and taking a look. You have to take a look at this guy if you're looking at a running back. And I think good team like the Chargers, you don't have a lot of holes to fill. Definitely, I think could pull the trigger here. Hendon Hooker, guy who's gotten better every year. We already talked about him. Ravens got to look at a quarterback at this point. I mean, I think this is going to be the guy available for them at this spot. A little bit of slept on. I'm actually a little more comfortable with him, believe it or not, than Anthony Richardson from stuff I see. Throwing on is not fantastic, but I think him starting week 1, I think I'm a lot more comfortable with that than I would be an Anthony Richardson. And they definitely have to look at that. Cam Smith at the corner. Definitely one of the, maybe I think the best nickel corner in the draft, Cam Smith. Definitely good in the slot. He can good enough outside. I think Emmanuel Forbes for Jacksonville, that's definitely a need for them. You can never have enough corners. If there's a lot of good corners in the first round, I think they definitely take a look at that. Quentin Johnson, the Giants at 26. I think the Giants definitely take a wide receiver. That's probably the biggest need. They went ahead and signed Daniel Jones. They went ahead and franchised Saquon Barkley. This is the worst receiving group. I think maybe the only one worse than the Ravens all season. They were just god awful. Definitely need a guy. Lots of potential. Quentin Johnson here at 26. Brian Breeze got him at 26 to Dallas. Jerry Jones, man, he loves to take those wide receivers and make the. I think D tackle is where they go here. This guy is really going to help him. Definitely there with that. They have three great elements on defense. I think you got DeMarcus Lawrence, you got Micah Parsons, and you got Tavon Diggs. And get them some help. You can win with those three. Osiris Torrance definitely would be higher but he's a guard. Buffalo Bills definitely need help on the offensive line, especially interior. Fills a big need for them at 28. Deontay Banks, definitely one of these outstanding corner class that we have this year. Excellent on the outside. I think it had not been for the three great corners. I mean, this guy could be first or second. He could be a lot higher in there as well. Definitely, and they need a corner. They need help in the secondary. I think that was that was the weakness on the team. The Bengals definitely need help there. Trenton Simpson for the Saints. There again, first round pick. This is the best inside linebacker, pure middle linebacker, weak side, pure in the draft. I definitely think the Saints take a chance on him. They've done well in the draft in recent years. Their cap situation has been a mess, but they've actually done well enough in the draft, I think, in recent years. The last two, Antonio Johnson, car crash sounding. Antonio Johnson, he hits, you can hear it. Every time I watch him on the field, boy, he just sound. You can hear it. Doesn't matter where they're playing. You can just hear the sound. Hey, coverage, not as good as a Brian Branch or anything. Safety pure, but let's not lose that. Guy who can really hit and make impact. That's what you're getting. BJ Olari for the Saints, for the Chefs. Chefs go ahead and take an outside linebacker there. They're going to go ahead and enter defense on offense. Might take a receiver. You would think on paper to take a receiver. I don't think they're going to do that necessarily in the round one. I think they actually like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and what they have. And I think they were able to kind of get away with that last year with Mahomes. I think they feel like, hey, like I talked about earlier with Brady and Manning and all the other stuff. Hey, we got Pat Mahomes. Let's maybe not spend $17 million, $18 million on receiver. Now that Tyreek Hill is gone. We'll go ahead and spend that money elsewhere. Okay, so you saw it. Had the Ravens take a quarterback in round one. Yeah. Ravens have to start looking at other options here. And the draft is the last chance to go ahead and add to your team and get a quarterback. So we'll see what happens. This has been a very weird offseason for the Ravens. This is a lot of important stuff for their franchise right now, us as fans. This Lamar thing is just continuing to linger. And we'll see how they do that. Let's see how well they can go ahead and get that squared away. All right. Thank you for joining us on the Ravery Sports podcast for the week. Our podcast, the Baltimore Sports Podcast. Ravery Sports is for fans like me. So again, check us out on all of our social media platforms. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, etc. We'll be on all the platforms all week. Thank you very much for joining us, and you have a great rest of your day.